Hello there and welcome to another video from Change Tips and Tools. And yes, it's me, Phil, the Brummie that hails from Birmingham, England. And I'm going to cut to the quick here. I no longer need these functions in Excel because there was a game changer and it's been around for a while actually, which is the XLOOKUP function. And the best way to explain why I do not need these functions any longer is let me give you some examples. So I've got 5 examples here of why, and also a couple of bonus examples of how to use XLOOKUP. So first of all, let's do this. So I've got my data here. So I've got my salesperson, units sold, the cost of those units, the sales, and then what the profit margin is. Then contractually against those salespeople, they've all got a commission that they earn based on the profit margin. But you'll notice I don't have the employee ID in this table. So how do I calculate their commission based on the profit? Based on only having their name, and also the name is after the value that I want to return, which is the commission. Now normally obviously VLOOKUPs, you can't use that because it needs to be on the left and then the value needs to be to the right for the VLOOKUP, so you probably resort to an index and match here. You don't need to because of XLOOKUP. Watch, it's easy. So let's create a column. So this is commission vertical. I've called it that because I'm also going to show you a horizontal example as well. So let's do XLOOKUP. The lookup value is going to be the salesperson. I'm going to do comma. My lookup array here is if I go to my commission vertical tab, right, and I select that range, I'm going to hit F4 to make it absolute because I want to copy the formula down. I'm going to do comma. My return array is going to be the commission percentage here. I'm going to hit F4 again to make it absolute, and then I'm going to close the bracket and hit return. Let's copy that down, see what it returns for us. So here we've got a couple of salespeople. So Ronnie and Stephen are not in the commissions table, so it returns NA. Now we don't want it to do that because we need to have a value, because we need to be able to times the profit margin to understand what the commission value is. So the way that we deal with that is, again, in the formula bar here, I'm going to click after the return array and do comma. And we've got this argument. So if you don't find anything, what do you want to return? So I'm going to say 0, the value 0, and then hit return again. And let's copy that down. Boom. Now all we've got to do is times that, what's returned, so times the profit to get our commission value. And there you go. If I copy that down, job done. So that's if you receive your data here, your commission data here. But what if you receive it in this format where it's horizontal? Again, you've got the name of the salesperson is after the value we are trying to return. Again, it's easy. And you can't use horizontal lookup, again, for the same reasons of the VLOOKUP. The value is before the lookup value. So again, you'd revert to index and match. You don't need that. XLOOKUP can handle this. Watch. So let's create a new column. So there's my horizontal column. So let's follow exactly the same steps as we did for vertical. So I'm going to do equals XLOOKUP. My lookup value is the salesperson again. My lookup array, so go to the commission horizontal, is this row here. I'm going to do F4 because I want to copy the formula down, so I need to make it absolute. I'm going to do comma. My return array is going to be this row here, the commissions. Again, F4 to make it absolute. This time I'm going to add, if not found, the 0. and then going to close the bracket and hit return. I'm then just going to add that times my profit margin there, and there you go. So that's exactly the same as that one there. If I just copy that down, done. It is that easy. Now, what happens if you receive you get a new scheme where it's no longer against the contract and it's based on the profit margin? So how do you return these percentages based on these profit margins here? So for example, anything between 50,000 to 75,000 is going to be 0%. Anything between 75,000 and 100,000 is going to be 2%, and so on. So how would you do that with the XLOOKUP? It's easy. Watch. So let's add another column. So I've called this commission approximate here. So again, let's do the formula. So I'm going to do equals XLOOKUP. My lookup value this time is not going to be the name. It's actually going to be the profit margin here. So I'm going to select that value. My lookup array, so if I go to my new scheme, is going to be this column here. And again, because I want to copy it down, I'm going to do F4 to make it absolute. I'm then going to do comma, and I'm going to do my return array is going to be the commission. And let's make F4 again to make that absolute. Now I don't need this argument here if not found. I don't need that anymore, so I'm just going to skip that one. But now I want my match mode, and this is key here. So the default is exact. What I'm going to use is the exact match or the next smaller item. So if it was, say for example, 74,000, I would expect it to return the 0% because that's the next smaller item. If it was 76,000, then I would expect it to return the 2%, and so on. Or I could go the other way, which is exact match or next larger item. But I'm going to choose this one, exact match or next smaller item, which is -1. I'm then going to close the bracket on that, and I'm going to hit return. I'm then going to copy that down, and there you go, it's picked up the percentages. So let's take this one. Bill Street has got 0.08 or 8%, and that's because his profit is 171,000. If I go to that, 171,000 is just short of the 10%. It's between 150 and 175, and that's why it's returned the 8%. Perfect. Again, all I then do is times that by that profit margin and hit return. Let's make that a currency and copy it down. Boom. So there you've got some examples of how to use the XLOOKUP, and you can, I think you'll agree, it's a lot easier and a lot faster than playing with X, index and match, etc. Now, what about wildcards? You know, partial values. What if you can't remember the full name of the salesperson? You can only remember their last name. So let's put yellow in here. How do we handle wildcards? So I can only remember the last name. What's their full name? So if I want to return that, again, if I do XLOOKUP, I'm going to put the wildcard character in quotation marks, like so. And then I'm going to do the ampersand, and then refer to this cell, reference this cell as my lookup value. I'm then going to do comma. My lookup array is going to be this column. I'm not going to make it absolute because I'm not copying the formula anywhere. I'm going to do comma again and do my return array, which is going to be the same column again. So let's close the bracket and see what happens. And we get this NA, we get this error. And the reason being is we've not actually told XLOOKUP what the match type is, i.e. it's a wildcard. And the way that we do that, so within the formula bar there, so again, I'm going to skip if not found. It's the match mode, and I need to tell it it's a wildcard character match. So I'm going to select that option, and I'm going to hit return. Boom, and there you go. And the yellow. It's that easy, yeah. So as far as a wildcard character and so on. Now, what about a two-way lookup? So if we get rid of, in fact, let's get rid of these here. What if we want to find against a salesperson, and we want to return against that salesperson? So let's we want to return the financials based on a drop down. So for example, if we select Andy and we want to see the sales for Andy value, how can we do that based on a two-way lookup? Again, never been easier. So first of all, let's do a data validation against the salesperson. So I'm going to go to data ribbon, do data validation. I'm going to do a list, and then select these values here. Hit return and click OK. So there we've got the salesperson. So let's choose Andy for now. We've then got the financial type. Again, let's do data validation. So if I do data validation, again do list, and let's select these headers here, so we can select any of these and do return and click OK. And again, I've now got these, so if I do profit there, let's just make that a little bit bigger. So let's make this a calculated column, and I'm going to make it currency format. So how do we do a two-way lookup based on these two values here to return then what the value is from anywhere in here? Well, this is how you do it. So if I do equals X, helps if we do it in the right cell. So sorry, equals X lookup. My lookup value, the first one is going to be this cell here, which is Andy yellow. My lookup array is also going to be the salesperson here. I'm not making them absolute because I'm not going to copy this formula anywhere else. Now, my return array obviously is any of these values here. So what I'm going to do within the return array section is I'm going to add another XLOOKUP here. So again, just before that range there, I'm going to do XLOOKUP again. And this time my lookup value is going to be this cell here, either financial type. I'm going to do comma. My lookup array is going to be these headers here. And I'm going to do comma. And obviously my return array is going to be these values here. Now that I've done that, I'm going to close the bracket on the second XLOOKUP on the return array, and then I'm going to close the bracket on the first XLOOKUP and hit return. And there you go. So if I change that to, so if we got Andy yellow, profit is 191501. Let's change that to cost. And there you go, it picks it up. Let's change to, let's go to Daisy Valentine. Daisy Valentine, cost 331. Let's look at Daisy's commission based on the approximate value. So again, drop down, select that one, and there you go. So there's a two-way lookup using XLOOKUP. Fantastic. Now, here's the bonus piece. So if I go to dependent drop downs, so tab is there's always been numerous ways of doing dependent drop downs based on, you know, you've got the first drop down, then the second drop down is dependent on it, or you could even have three. And it's always been quite it's a bit of a beast to create. It's never been easier now, and also to make it dynamic as well. Watch. So I've got these items here where I've got groups of vegetables, fruits and nuts and meat. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this into a table. I'm going to do Control T. My table has headers. And on the table design, I'm just going to give the table a meaningful name. Let's call it shopping, table shopping, and hit return. So the first thing is that for this to work, and as far as data validation, is that I've got a group. So I want to select a group, and then in my items, I want to see a drop down based on the group that I select. So I want a drop down for my group, and then I want a dependent drop down based on what I select here. So the first thing we need to do, let's create that dynamic, and you do this on a different sheet to where you're doing the drop downs, but so we want our groups first. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to do equals unique, and my array is going to be this group here. So I'm just going to, you see that black arrow on the table? If I select that, it's now selected that column within that table. And if I just close the bracket, it's then returned a unique list of what's in the table there. If I then just do a sort, because I'm OCD and I like everything to be in order, so again, and then close the bracket on that, it defaults to ascending. So now I need these to go across the top. And again, you used to have to create complicated formulas, but this is where the transpose function comes in. So if I do transpose, use that and close the bracket, it's now putting that across the top there, like so. Wonderful. So now I've got my fruit. Now I need to return against each one, well, what are all the fruits, what are all the meats, etc., to drive my dynamic drop down. So again, I'm going to do my items here, and I'm going to use the filter function. So I'm going to go equals filter, and again the array is going to be all my items here. So I'm going to do, again, select that column. So that's what I'm going to return. And what I'm going to include is where this column here equals this cell here, iFruit, and it's going to return all those things. I'm then going to do a comma and say if it's empty, I'm just going to do return an empty cell, and then close that bracket and hit return. So there you go. And again, I am OCD, so I want it in sorted alphabetically. So again, I'm just going to add a sort to that. Wonderful. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to copy that formula. So I'm going to do Control Copy. And then I'm going to select a range. I'm going to allow for expansion. So I'm going to go to, let's go to P, column P here. And I'm going to do Control V to paste that formula in. And there you go. So I've now got my dynamic data here. So let's now do our drop down. So the first drop down, so let's make these bold. Let's do an underline there so we can see them. Let's make that a little bit bigger, like so. Let's do the drop down here for our groups. So if I go to data ribbon, data validation, and then do list. So I'm going to select this first cell, and I'm going to do here hash. So it includes the spill range, and hit enter. And then click OK. So I've now got my fruits from the top here. So I'm going to my groups. So I'm going to select fruit, Now, as far as this drop down is concerned, this is where the XLOOKUP really becomes powerful, and we're going to use the XLOOKUP. So if I do XLOOKUP, the value that I'm looking up is going to be this value here. I'm going to do comma. My lookup array is going to be this row, and I'm going to go to column P to allow for that expansion. Now, the important thing about XLOOKUP is that your lookup array and your return array both have to be the same size, the same dimension. So in this instance, it has to be horizontally exactly the same. So my lookup array is going to be that row there. My return array is then, I'm going to select this row below, exactly the same. So from the start to P, so they're both the same. And then, if nothing found, just going to do a quotation marks and make it empty. Yeah. If I then close the bracket on that and hit return, at the moment it's only returning one item, but as soon as I add the hash sign to that, the end of that, and hit return, look what happens. Boom. And if I change this to meat, it adapts automatically. So now, if I take that formula and do Control X and return, and then go to data validation on that and do data validation, list, and paste that formula we just created, the XLOOKUP formula, and do OK. Now it is dynamic. Boom. And the beauty of this is the way that we've created this here, again, is if I add, let's add to our table, because obviously the table, because it's a table, this will automatically expand. So if let's do fish, let's add some fish in here. So let's do trout. Let's do cod. And let me just add some fish in here. Tuna. There you go. And now what you'll see is this has automatically added another group here. And again, if I do the drop down, there's fish. And there are my options. And that is where I will end this video. But hopefully all those examples have opened your eyes to a world of options based on the XLOOKUP function. And I encourage you to go away and experiment on your own spreadsheets and your own templates. It'll give them much more dynamic power. I hope you found that useful and informative. If so, please remember to click that like, subscribe, and smash that notifications button for future content. And as always, I wish you a wonderful day wherever you are in the world. Please take care, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video from Change, Tips and Tools. Bye bye now.